Hi there, my name is Bruce Rain from Brankus Creations, and this is just a quick little video for the 2024 PowerPC Challenge. Now I have here in my hands a Qwertee 605, pretty beaten up, spindler plastics, very brittle. We've got a crack here, we've got holes in the back, look at that. Now I know what you're thinking, Qwertee 605, that's a 68040 CPU, that's not PowerPC, what are you talking about? Well, this one has a little secret. Last year, I saw this item come up on eBay. It's being sold as not working. It is a PowerPC upgrade card for the Qwertee 605 or LC475. It is a 66 megahertz 601, I believe. We'll find that out for sure later on. And the way it works is you take the CPU off the logic board, the 6804 CPU, you take that out, you place it into the socket of this card. Then this card has pins at the bottom, and those pins go into the socket for the CPU on the logic board. And so you now have your 68040 mounted there, and then you have the 601 CPU there, and you can switch between the two with software. Now, when I got this, there were a couple of pins that were busted on this, and so I was able to repair those pins. Now it works fine, but I'm not going to lift it out ever again because I don't want to test my repair to see how strong it is. But so far it works fine. As I say, I'm just not going to move it around too much. So this is probably the slowest PowerPC you could possibly imagine. In the past I've done the PowerPC challenge with G4s or G5s, but this time I decided to go the other way and see if I could find the slowest PowerPC I could find, and I think this has got to be it. This is going to be even slower than the PowerPC 6100. Now it is my plan to try and use this practically, and one of the things I do, certainly for my job and also for my YouTube channel, is I do a lot of writing, and I like to be able to just write on whatever computer I want. So whether it be a laptop or desktop computer or wherever I happen to be in the house, if I'm ready to write, I just want to write. And I have made a website where I can use it to create little documents and do text editing, and then they just automatically synchronize. So if I'm on computer A, I can do some writing there, jump across to computer B, I can edit it a little bit more there. Now I'd like to be able to do the same with this, so be able to turn this into a practical sort of text editing computer. I know it's not much of a challenge to be a text editor, but the whole purpose of it is to be able to connect to the internet, do the editing on that website that I use, and then have that synchronized so I can then access the documents on my modern computers as well. Now the challenge I have here is that with this PowerPC upgrade, it kind of blocks off the area where you would stick a network card in here. Certainly not without a riser, you can't put a network card on there. So I'm actually going to use a BlueSCSI version 2, and I'm going to use the built-in Wi-Fi on the Raspberry Pi so that I can theoretically get this connected up to Wi-Fi and then access the internet that way. Now another thing I also want to do is I want to find out what is the best operating system to use with this. I am going to set up disk images with System 7.5, System 8.6 and System 9.1. And I'm going to do a few tests and see which one is the most usable with this very, very aging hardware. And then I'm going to see if I can actually get it to work with that text editor website that I have created. I may have to make some modifications to that and see if I can actually use this for a practical purpose of writing scripts, and that will be my contribution to the PowerPC Challenge. So the first thing we have to do is get the BlueSCSI, get it all set up with the different operating systems, and then do a few tests. Okay, so I'm going to use the old disk Jockey software, links in the description, to create some blank disk images for my BlueSCSI. I am going to actually load up 4 images onto an SD card. I've got a 16 gig SD card. I'm going to create 3 times 4 gigabyte disk images, one for System 7.5, one for System 8.6, and one for 9.1. I do actually want to do this system installation on the computer itself, so I'm just going to do blank disk images, and then I'll have a 4th disk image there with an operating system, and it will have all of the installers on it as well. So we'll start off, we'll go and create a 4,000 megabyte disk image. We're going to say it's BlueSCSI, and we'll set it on SCSI ID 1. So it automatically creates the file name for it. I will call this one 7.5. Create the image. And I'll make this one ID 2. Then I will create my 8.6 image. And then I will make this ID 3, and we will call this one 9.1. There we go. So I've now got my images. Here is my SD card. 16 gigabytes of space there. I'm just going to copy my 3 disk images across to it there. This SD card has been formatted as exFAT, as per the recommendations for BlueSCSI. And last of all, I'm going to copy over a System 7.1 2 gigabyte image, and this one I'm pretty sure has all the installers on it, but we will check that in a moment. Okay, fast forward 24 hours. Since upgrading this Qwertee 605 to a PowerPC, System 7.1 doesn't work anymore. So what I have actually done is I have edited this disk image to contain System 7.6. Now I realize just renaming it doesn't do that. I've actually done that in secret, where I've actually gone in and loaded up this image into an emulator, and I have replaced the operating system on it with a pre-built System 7.6 I have, so I know that is going to work. And I may as well rename this 7.6 as well, because I will put 7.6 on this partition as well. So that is good to go. Now the next thing we need to do is, I mentioned before that I need to utilize the networking of the BlueSCSI. And for that, we need to do a little bit of prep work. So I'm going to launch into TextEdit, and I'm going to create a new file. Now this is just a blank file, there's nothing in it. We're going to be emulating a SCSI adapter made by Dana, which was actually a SCSI Ethernet adapter. So you would actually plug it into a SCSI port, and then with the right drivers, you would then be able to connect Ethernet to that adapter. Now, because it is a SCSI device, we need to give it a SCSI ID. So we are actually going to tell the BlueSCSI which SCSI ID we want to assign to this emulated Ethernet adapter. To do that, I'm just going to get this blank file here, and I'm going to save it, put it onto that SD card, and we are going to call it NE6.HDA. And I'll just switch this off. If no extension is provided, use text. No, we don't want text, we want HDA. So save that, and there it is. So there is a blank text file called NE6HDA. That will tell the BlueSCSI SCSI ID 6 is where the network adapter is going to be. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to go and create another text file, and for that, this one has some text in it. I'm just taking this straight from the BlueSCSI V2 Wi-Fi setup page. I'm going to plonk that in here, and we need to put in the network name and network password here. So I'm going to go Brankus Wi-Fi, and I'm going to go password too many secrets. Whoops, secrets. Now, that is neither the name of my Wi-Fi nor the password, but I put something in there for the sake of the video. It is important to remember that it will not support 5 gigahertz networks, only 2.4 gigahertz, and that is a limitation of the Raspberry Pi Pico. It can only connect to 2.4 gigahertz networks. So now we're going to save this little file, and we're going to call this one BlueSCSI.ini. And once again, no extension, use text. So we'll save that, and there it is. So these 2 files will allow the BlueSCSI to connect to your Wi-Fi network. Now let's see how this goes in the little Qwertee 605. Okay, so we are about to fire up the Qwertee 605. Get a nice PowerPC chime going on there, quite like that. And we're going to be booting with the BlueSCSI for the first time. Okay, so it looks like we're booting straight into that System 7.6 operating system that I set up. Yeah, it might look like it's frozen, but I can see the little light blinking on the BlueSCSI, so it's happily booting. Okay, so this is one of my blank disk images, so I'll just initialize, continue, and here's another one, initialize, continue, and initialize, continue. So I've got my System 7.6 that I booted from here, which I assigned to SCSI ID 0, and then we have the other 3 empty disk images I created. We get info, you can actually see the SCSI ID there. So this one here is set up at SCSI ID 1. Let's just have a quick look at SCSI probe to see what the SCSI bus actually looks like. And we'll call this Quadra 605. Oops, 605. 605 and a half. Okay. Right, so we have got there our 4 disk images at ID 0, 1, 2, and 3, and then you can see at ID 6 is Dana SCSI link. So that has worked. It has actually loaded up that SCSI hardware, or the emulation of the SCSI hardware. So that is looking pretty good. Now, I have some bad news. I have found out that while I can actually install System 8.6 or System 9.1 on a PowerMac 6100, which is also a 601 CPU, I cannot do so on this upgraded Mac. On the Quadra 605 with a PowerPC upgrade card, the newest operating system I can install is System 8.1. I can't even do 8.5. So I am going to use 2 of these images, one to stick System 7.6 on, one to stick 8.1 on, and the other one we can just use as some spare storage. That's rather disappointing, but you know, that's just how it goes with vintage stuff. So the next thing we need to do is install System 8.1, and I'm going to put that on this one here. So I'm going to call that one System 8.1. And I have got here on my main drive system installers, and I have got 8.1 installer there. So I'm going to fire that up. It should just mount onto the desktop like that. And there it is, install Mac OS 8.1. Okay, continue. Okay, we're not going to stick it on System 7.6, we'll stick it on 8.1 and select. It's having a think. There we go. And continue. Continue. Agree. Of course I agree. And there are all the bits and pieces. Let's just have a quick look at what we've got there. I'll just do the basic installation. Click Start. Oh, well, stuff you then. Ignore warning. Time to go and make a cup of coffee. Still going. Okay, there we are. We have finally installed System 8.1. So let's quit out of that. Close all the things. And control panels. Startup disk. And we want to start up with System 8.1. And yippee! Yay! Rebuilding the desktop file. Oh, that takes me back. We have finished. We have got the Welcome to Mac OS Setup Assistant, which I'm going to completely ignore. Are you sure you want to quit? Yes, I am. A couple little housekeeping tasks here. I am going to go to memory and switch off virtual memory because I think that comes on by default. Yes, it does. So let's switch that off. And the other thing I want to do is have a look at the Apple system profile. It should hopefully give us a bit of information. Okay, so we've got a PowerPC 601 at 50 megahertz. So this is actually less than the slowest genuine Apple PowerPC, the 6100. So this is definitely the slowest PowerPC I have. Now I have heard that you can overclock these, so I am going to investigate that because I wouldn't go crazy with it, but if I can take this up to, you know, maybe sort of 60 or something like that, that would make me happy. Now the next thing we want to do is see if we can get the network working. So for that, I am going to need to go to my installers here, and I have got some network drivers, and it's the Dana ones that I need, Dana port installer. Let's fire that up. Ba-ding, ba-ding, ba-ding. Agree, I'm very agreeable. Okay, so there we go. Installer. There's all the different things it will install for. And click OK, and there we go. Okay, it's actually recognized the hardware. If it didn't recognize the hardware, it wouldn't actually come up with any option here. So it's showing that it finds the Danaport SCSI hardware there. Of course, we know it's just being emulated, but it doesn't mind. Now we've got to switch the disk to system 8.1. 8.1, there we go, and install. Select disk has a later version. That's fine, I don't mind. Let's continue. It's an interesting looking file, isn't it? Right, and let's restart. Restart. All right, so let's now look at TCP/IP. There we go. And okay, currently inactive. Let's make it active. And oh, it's already come up with alternate Ethernet, which is what we want. That's the Dana driver there. We'll close that, save it. Okay, now we need to see if it works. System 8.1 includes a couple of web browsers. So if we go over here to Internet, by the time System 8 was around, everyone was wanting to get onto the Internet because of all the cool things. Internet Explorer 3, Netscape Navigator 3. Now, back in those days, Netscape Navigator was probably the leader, I would think. So let's see what happens if we fire that up. And we've got an error relating to the security stuff. So that's perfectly normal. Let's see if we can access something like Frog Find. Hey, look at that. Bang, bang. A shout out to my good friend Sean. I hope you're up to some shenanigans at the moment. Who is responsible for this Frog Find website, and of course to Steve from Mac 84 who made that lovely little frog icon. So, okay, we're looking good. Next thing I'm going to do, we'll start doing some real internet testing. I mentioned that the 601 was running at 50 megahertz, and it's actually exactly twice the megahertz of the 68040 CPU. So the Quadra 605 is a 25 megahertz 68040, and then the upgrade is a 50 megahertz 601. Now I thought I might be a bit clever and overclock the original 68040 and take it up to 33 megahertz. It's pretty easy to do by just moving a couple little resistors around. So I did that, and while it works with the 68040 still, if I try and boot into the PowerPC, it chimes but doesn't go any further. I was hoping that taking it up to 33 megahertz would mean that I would then get 66 megahertz from the PowerPC CPU. But unfortunately, that's not the way it works. Apparently you can overclock these, but I don't know how to do it. I haven't even been able to find a manual for this PowerPC upgrade, let alone find instructions on how to overclock it. So for the moment, it looks like I'm stuck with 50 megahertz. So I now have a vanilla installation of System 7.6 on one of the other drives, and I want to see which one is going to boot faster. Now logic would tell us that System 7.6 is going to boot faster than System 8.1, but maybe 8.1's got more PowerPC optimized code, who knows? Let's have a look. And not so surprisingly, System 7.6 is 12 seconds faster to boot than System 8.1. Right, so I am loaded into System 7.6 and I have just launched Internet Explorer version 4.01. This is a fat version of Internet Explorer 4, which basically means it has 68K and PowerPC code rolled into one. Now I'm going to test out this website I have set up for doing the text editing, and it is called notes.brancus.com. And let's see what happens. Okay, so it doesn't like my JavaScript. That's not surprising. JavaScript has come a long way since back then. So we'll just continue running scripts on the affected page. No. It's going to mean that nothing works. The auto-saving doesn't work or anything like that. And to be honest, I'm not seeing anything at all. Okay, so I've got a great big blank there. I do have another web browser on this computer, iCab. Let's give that a try. Okay, a little bit more success here. The CSS is definitely not working properly. The JavaScripts aren't working properly, so it's sort of loaded the page, but it's a bit of a train wreck. Pressing this button should... No. Okay, none of this works. So I'm afraid all of the code that I use to write this site is way too new for an old browser like this. So I am going to have to go back to the drawing board and rewrite this in a version that will suit a really, really old operating system. Okay, so I have created a new website called Old Notes. And this is now using things like tables, no CSS, and very, very basic JavaScripts, which we'll see if this will accept those. So let's visit oldnotes.brancus.com. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So, I mean, I know it's ugly, but it's not too bad at all. So let's see if this will actually work. I'm going to create a new notes page on this, and I will call this one My Stuff. Create your retro notes. Okay. Well, that didn't work. That's a bit of a pain. Alright, well, let's try iCab. We might have more success with that. Thinking. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that's cool. Right, it's not the fastest thing in the world, but it loaded. Now let's try that again. My Stuff. And we'll go create your retro notes. Yay! It worked! Okay, so I think the first thing I have to do is press add new. Right, and it has loaded up a blank note for me there, ready for typing. So that's it there, and then I am going to type something here. I'm going to say I have to press the old save button. Let's see how long this takes. It's all right. It's not super fast, but it's not super slow either. Let's add another note here. Let's see if I can toggle between two notes. So, and save a Rooney. Great stuff. Okay, so that's my first note. That's my second note. I can click on this button to then transfer across to my first note. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, well that's really, really good. So now I just have to jump across onto my modern Mac and see that that is synchronizing the data for me to access there. And here we are. This is the notes website running on my M1 Mac Mini, and you can clearly see those notes that I have written on the old Quadra 605, and I can just access them here. I can make an edit. Here's some more text. Reload this page. And there we are. Here is some more text. So I have successfully managed to create a very, very basic web text editor that I can then use on my PowerPC computer and then synchronize it so that that text is then available when I jump onto a modern Mac. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure just how functional it is, but I do enjoy the novelty of actually doing something productive on a computer with less processing power than my dishwasher. Every time I press the save button, it takes about 8 seconds, which is motivating me to not save very often. I'm probably setting myself up for a small disaster. I consider this a pretty successful PowerPC challenge experiment. I realise it's only text editing, but having that text synchronised to my modern Mac makes it incredibly useful and practical. While it's been a fun experiment, it sucked up a huge amount of time. Setting up the operating system, dealing with all the unexplainable technical issues, and rewriting my HTML code for ancient web browsers. Okay, that's enough. Back to my M2 Mac. Thanks for watching.